side, pretty stock standard for how things have gone in the LPL. Rise taken away, one of the most played champions for both of these mid lane captains, and then the jungle pool getting pinched just a tad as well.
So Orianna, I think that right now we're kind of looking at getting Nocturne starting to open up. This could also be the return of a champion like Xin Zhao or Vi. I know Xin Zhao has kind of dropped in priority in the last couple of weeks. Karma getting banned, so for AL, what is our first pick going to be? I do think we have to start thinking about 80 carries immediately. You most likely want to grab things like Corki, which has been just the strongest laner alongside him, or are we just going to reach for Yunara? Maybe we just blind some top laners. I know top lane is very volatile right now, and I think that Mbessa is probably the best top laner right now on the patch.
And something that Flandre has been more comfortable going to as of late. Also has some flexibility into the jungle, obviously. Somebody like Tarzan very much could pick that up. But it's going to be Ezreal here for Hope early. Not necessarily at the top of the tier list in terms of what bot laners have really been in the meta, especially with Karma taken away. But something that Hope will obviously always be very comfortable on.
I think this is a good snipe because I remember last year watching Elk on Ezreal, and there's just no reason to have this guy on this champion. He is way too cracked on this. I go back to that IG series halfway through the year, and he was putting out massive damage. So a good takeaway. Rumble makes sense. I guess you're probably more afraid of giving away Mbessa if there's a potential Renekton coming on through down the pipeline. And now with this Nocturne, it does mean that AL are going to have to play some kind of neutralizer top lane and some kind of self-sufficient mid lane, most likely going to be Azir for Shanks, because Nocturne can now have a side lane that he can play for later on, and that can make setting up for objectives a little bit more difficult for AL.
Yeah, not going to be comboed with the Ori, but still a lot of cool mid-jungle combos that you can set up here with this Nocturne pick for Jiejie. We saw him do pretty good on it earlier this season. The Bard getting locked in alongside the Ezreal, pretty standard, especially with the Karma taken away. And there's your Mbessa that you're talking about, holding flex potential entering the second phase.
Okay, so we're going to be looking to potentially try to maneuver our way around a dive. Shouldn't be a champion that I think Nocturne's going to be really happy about going to this lane anyway. So Ezreal, Bard, Mbessa. This gives a lot of flexibility for AL's draft because they have the engage. They kind of have what I would consider like conditional crowd control. Bard ultimate is great. Mbessa ult is awesome, but you need to land these kinds of skills. And so what is going to be the pieces that AL build around to give them either, you know, a much sharper identity here? Again, I think Azir is probably going to be what they're looking for Shanks, and then put Tarzan on some kind of engaged jungler. Something's going to give them a front line. Whereas Weibo, strong enough solos, and now let's just take away tanks, take away champions that are going to stop us from being able to kind of brute force our way, especially with this top and mid with a Rumble and Aurora.
See the Ashe Seraphine lane immediately being taken away by AL. They don't want Elk and Hong on something that can really oppress in Ezreal, especially if isolated with Bard going on some roam timers. Surprised to see like a Xin Zhao not taken away just yet. This has been a very strong champion in general, and something that Tarzan definitely could get his hands on, but it's going to be Vi instead, because right now AL have really set themselves up for a lot of pick potential with this Mbessa and Bard. They don't want to triple down on that with Tarzan locking in the Vi. I'd imagine you go jungle here and just give up the flex, but there's always the potential to do something a little bit different. Only time will tell as we're awaiting for actually Weibo to pick up this selection. I always get confused with the... It's been 4 months and I'm still getting mixed up with the sizes. I'm not gonna lie.
That's okay. That's okay. It happens. We have to pick our bottom lane here, obviously. I think you can still go for like a Yunara and Lulu combo. You can take that away for later in the series. Xayah has definitely gotten more priority, but I don't know if it's necessarily like a game one we want to go into this kind of identity immediately. For AL, in terms of jungle right now, with Vi gone, I do think that we are picking up a Naafiri. I think Naafiri versus what Weibo are showing right now has a lot of ins and outs that she can try to dive into, and especially for chasing down champions like the Aurora inside lane, that sounds like misery to play against with a Bard as well. So here's that Azir. We already talked about it as kind of the priority for Shanks so far, his most played by far. And what is going to be the front line for AL? Is it just going to be a lone Skarner? This is, I think, a very tricky composition. Again, a lot of conditional crowd control here for AL. If they can hold battle lines, Ezreal Azir should be able to kind of whittle away at Weibo to make it uncomfortable for them to go into any of these team fights.
yeah, you know, you understand the need for a frontline. You know, with the Mundo nerf, Skarner probably the strongest like tank jungler on this current patch. But other than the ultimate and maybe, you know, a slam into the wall with your E, that's like the only quote-unquote point-and-click crowd control that anyone's Legend have. If they want to utilize these picks, it's going to have to come off of good finds from Kael or somebody like Flandre out of Fog of War, landing a public execution. So a lot on Tarzan this game to set up plays, which is not necessarily the easiest, especially in the early game on Skarner. As for Weibo, got a lot of go buttons to enter fights. I was going to say they didn't have a lot of hard CC, but Hong locking in the Nico is a great answer here in this double range matchup.
They're going to be diving. You know, we have a Nocturne. We can be looking for things on Azir on sides. What I don't want to see from Weibo is them kind of letting their foot off the gas here in this draft. They have a lot of ways of interacting with some of the slippier members of this AL composition, and that just means dragons are going to be so much more important. If you get into a situation where we're standing 5-on-5s, I think versus Azir Ezreal, we're going to lose that. We need to pull the trigger, and I think that's going to create a lot of really fun scenarios here. I'm going to say it's good or bad, but it's going to be fun at the very least.
I mean, yeah, these teams, I don't know if you could put a label good or bad on them, but they've been fun at the very least. You know, specifically Weibo over these last few weeks. We'll see if that continues, and as these teams push towards a top 4 spot and a guaranteed playoff berth, they'll be able to deliver right here. Weibo want revenge from the regular season. AL trying to keep their regular season series perfect against Weibo so far. It's game 1 here on LPL English.
It's game 1, Weibo fans. We're allowed to be happy. We're allowed to be excited. We'll wait until game number 2, whether or not we're allowed to continue to feel things. We've been seeing a lot of jungle invades. It is very tough to contest Nocturne level 1, but look at this. Look, Flandre winning through blue buff.
Hey, this is the level 1 strats that you were talking about. Now Tarzan and Jiejie duking it out, but the Zembest is going to be here first. She'll lose a little bit of XP on the top side, but that will be worth it if it can delay Jiejie's clear. Just waiting to see who exactly claims this. It looks like, yeah, Jiejie will be out all right.
Okay. I was going to say, so this is a much different kind. He's going to stay. Yeah, he needs to stay for this kind of jungle path to work. He has lethal tempo, which is a little bit different than the Conqueror, which is what we saw from Guwon. Gives him more individual skirmishing power, but imagine if he landed the Nocturne Q on both him and Mbessa and then walks into Raptors. It would have been very nuts.
The dueling power still belongs to Jiejie, even though he is level 1, now trying to fight Tarzan for these Krugs. He has his smite available, and Tarzan does not, so it should be an easy contest. Now Tarzan's going to be in trouble. He pops a W for a little bit of extra shield, and will actually win out on the 1v1. That extra HP ends up proving vital, as Tarzan and AL pick up first blood.
Tarzan, there we go. There we go. And we get the level. Okay, we get all the health back there. Yeah, that Grasp of the Undying proc for Tarzan, I think, is what kind of saved him here in this play. And getting all of that extra damage, Flandre obviously helping. I don't know how else to say this, Grapes, but that sucks for Weibo.
You can see the vision a little bit, right? You think Nocturne, if you can win the smite fight, Jiejie's been very good at that recently. You're absolutely able to smash this Skarner, but perhaps it was a bit of a sunk cost fallacy there for Jiejie. After you lose the Raptor fight, you're down a level. We thought it would work out, but he kept, you know, sticking around, taking poke from Tarzan. He has more spells, obviously, being level 2. And now this Skarner is going to be absolutely off to the races here.
Yeah, and Skarner has a very open build path right now. A lot of people are moving away from immediately starting off on Heartsteel, but that's always a thing that you can do. There's a lot of range this game, so probably not going to be on the cards. We might see things like the Protoplasm Harness. There is Xiaohu getting engaged upon by Shanks, probably going to have to recall and then TP. The bot lane's already kind of getting off to a good lead here for AL, so it's a 300 gold lead, but in terms of jungle pressure here in this game, it's going to feel very, very difficult to maneuver if you're one of these Weibo solo laners.
Luckily for Jiejie, he's actually not too far behind. I mean, obviously he's far behind, but he still has his entire top side to clear. Maybe could go for that second spawn of the Raptors, and it looks like that might be the game plan, but no, Tarzan knows better than to allow for his opponent to have that, so he will end up going there first. But still, Jiejie will be able to farm up decently well. But as you mentioned, the thing that is important here for both Skarner and Nocturne, they need level 6, and Tarzan's going to be there just a tad quicker because of this.
I was gonna do the stupid, like, let's point at the graph here. My mid laner has prio, yours does not. Those are my Raptors now, Mr. Jiejie. So, that's unfortunate for him.
Wow,
Another
Shanks
trade
is
in mid
eyeing
lane.
him here.
Yeah, I wonder if we could get the Observer, if I could just mind control the LPL Observers to show me
We don't have
Shanks'
power like that.
champion order. Okay, he's just going for W. He's just maxing W second. I was going to maybe ask if this was going to be an E. I know that fools and people online, at least on Twitter, have been kind of trying to formulate some different Azir skill max orders, because in matchups like these where you might get poked out a lot, E actually gives you ability to deal more damage.
Ooh,
Oh,
Jiejie
another invade.
trying to go for this steal of the Krugs, but actually just ends up eating a chunk of damage from Tarzan. The HL's impact
brother's
slams
dead.
him into the wall. Jiejie might just be dead here. Gonna be able to get on out. Now Zika has arrived to the fight, but Kael is here as well. Get in the journey. They will hop over the portal into safety. Tarzan lives with less than 100 HP.
If everybody at home is wondering, why is Jiejie doing this on repeat? There is currently a ongoing arms race for jungle camps where at the beginning of the year we were doing this whole let's get to Scuttle and then we'll hit level 6 or we'll have our upgraded Smite for Dragon and all of that shebang. But now that we've had more time with the meta and specifically with jungle camps, junglers are just invading, especially for Raptors, because if you can get 2 stolen Raptor camps,
Kael still has
okay.
Flash, so should be alright. Hope has lethal tempo proc. I apologize. Continue here.
No, it's not your fault. They just decided they wanted to trade while I'm going on this really long-winded jungle. Anyway, all that to say is that if you steal enough jungle camps early, you can prevent your enemy jungler from hitting level 6. You'll hit it significantly faster than your opponent with also your own jungle camps. That's basically what's the conversation has been.
And then what Jiejie is doing now is, because he lost a couple of camps early, it's almost like you're trying to win back the LP by queuing up immediately after. You just go for another invade, try to even the score. Doesn't look like that happens, though, as Tarzan is going to hit level 6 first, but not before he ends up starting this Dragon. Could allow for Jiejie to take this Crab, go into the Raptors, and maybe try to catch up a little bit, but it will come at the cost of this permanent buff being awarded to anyone's Legend, which is always a good thing to have, especially for a composition that I would say scales pretty well into the late game.
I think on 2 and 3 items, you are super afraid as Weibo to try to play against this composition. There are some ways to get out. Obviously, Kaisa, I think, is like a big get-out-of-jail-free card if you give her one good team fight. And when we're talking about jungle, again, right, you give up those dragons, yes, but like you were mentioning, Weibo, or Jiejie and Weibo still have some camps on their side of the map. And so mostly this is information gathering. It has gone in favor of AL, but it means that Tarzan, they kind of can see where he is. Jiejie is really just playing human ward at this point, and we'll kind of move away from Dragon. I will refrain from trying to mention either of these 2 junglers for the next 3 minutes, but no promises, everybody.
Hey, these have been, 2 of the better performing junglers this season, despite the records that we have in
I can already
these
feel
games.
the one guy in chat, bro. I can feel his energy. Same way that I had Xiaohu on my right shoulder, maybe like Devil and Angel. It's the one guy in chat.
All right, speaking of junglers, we got Tarzan up here onto Zika. He uses the Equalizer to just try to clear the wave out, but that's not going to help him at all. Impale lands. That's going to be first kill over to anyone's Legend up on the top side. Tarzan moves up to 2-0 as Zika falls.
Ooh, and he's going to get this entire wave. Jiejie is going to steal away red buff. All right. You know what? Maybe I should just get fired here. I mentioned we're not even making a full minute at this point. I haven't even making a full minute.
We'll continue discussion here, though. I mean, TN is probably, I think we can all agree, playing like the best jungler in the league right now. After
Best
that,
player in the league. Go.
Probably these 2 and 3.
I actually just got into a conversation about this because fellow co-streamer Aragon decided to put out his weekly tier list of the players.
I think,
and
yeah,
I had a lot of disagreements with this because there were some placements on here that needed to be discussed. He had Xiaohu and Flandre at 3rd and 4th top laners. Incorrect. Yeah, no, definitely not. Definitely not. I mean, Flandre's average gold lead so far this season is pretty poor, I would say.
I mean, look at the gold, right? He got the kill top lane. It's still down 30 CS.
He's still down. Zika, we didn't even mention this, by the way. He has Ignite top lane. And
True.
If Jiejie had done like the early invades and more particularly let himself die around those Krugs, I think there was a possibility for them to look for top lane ganks.
Tarzan looking for a play onto the Weibo bottom lane. Tempered Fate landing onto Hong. build. It's going to be able to use that heal to barely stay alive, and a teleport has come in. It will be
go.
Xiaohu joining the fray in a 4v4 with Jiejie waiting in the wings. Try to pop that paranoia. Looks like that go button won't be issued just yet, as AL have done a nice job to disengage. But it's a nice job by Weibo to keep their support alive.
This is good. We're going to be moving into a dragon, however, in 2 minutes, where now there's no flash on Hong for them to be able to match. And that could mean that AL start off this game with 2 dragons. And we had already kind of given them from draft at least our advantage when we're talking about moving later into the game. And for as much as we have talked about some of the individual leads for someone like Zika here, I'm still looking at the rest of the map right now, and I see an Ezreal that is completely unperturbed. I see an Azir that is going even with Aurora early and is about to get a plate as well. I'm very okay with this state of the game if I'm anyone's legend. And for Weibo, I asked for them to play a much faster, stronger early game.
The problem is, with the way these compositions are structured, I should say, Weibo can't really get in very easily, right? The only form of long-range engage is Jiejie on the paranoia. But if you just have a Nocturne running straight in there without any follow-up, it's pretty difficult to play things out. We saw it play out right there around the bottom side. Jiejie was there. He had R. Not going to press it into a 1v4. And Hong, being very low as a secondary engage, he still has to get up all close and personal for Elk to even go in with that killer instinct. And so with AL being able to play with range and with Hope and Shanks continuing to build up items and continue to scale, it's going to become even more difficult for Weibo to find the fights that they're looking for.
The platonic ideal of this fight from Weibo is that Nocturne turns off the lights, and then that allows for Hong to kind of just play like super sleuth, and he kind of walks through Fog of War. AL don't see that there's a Nico being set up, and then you get the big pop blossom. That's where I'm looking at their composition to really spike. They have to have one big fight that goes their way and continue to snowball off of that, and honestly just rinse and repeat, right? But you have a 500 goal lead at 11 minutes, you're still okay. If you are AL, you still have plenty of kind of room to maneuver, and I think Flandre has one of the biggest tasks this game. Even though he is down 30 CS, this Mbessa can just land the public execution onto one of these immobile members, and suddenly the entire fight blows open.
Both teams very conditional engages, which means we're going to get some wonky team fights and also probably some situations where teams just look at each other for a little bit before deciding they don't actually want to go in. Might see something here similarly around the dragon, as it already has been started up by anyone's legend. Weibo would love to
Tarzan.
avoid having to give up 2 straight to their opposition, but Elk already has to flash away from that Tempered Fate, and a teleport in from Flandre means that is all that will happen down there. It'll be Dragon for some more plates, as Weibo has continuously gone for the gold over the neutral objectives.
Yeah, I was looking at the wave top lane, and Zika was getting ready to crash, and Mbessa was already standing underneath the turret. Because if Nocturne turns off the ultimate, or turns off the lights, then there's no point, there's no ability for Mbessa to TP. So has to do it preemptively, and that'll mean that it'll open up a very large lead for Zika, who now has completed his Leandries. I think that this Herald fight in 3 minutes is going to be really, really pivotal.
Why go for Herald? We could fight over 3rd Scuttle Crab, though.
Yeah!
That's going to be the focus now for Weibo. Tangle Barbs land on to the Skarner. With the weirding as well, it's going to chunk him down to half HP. Victory for Weibo. Well done.
No notes. No notes
we didn't get the dragon. We got the crab.
No.
The crab is worth more gold.
Yeah.
So who's really winning here, guys?
I remember we talked about that with the gank that they had played on the bottom side from AL, Hong had no flash going into that dragon. So now we're going to be playing the next dragon with no flash on Kaisa instead. And this Herald is kind of the big ticket item, I think, for both of these teams. For AL, I think it is an important... This objective in general has gotten such a big buff that now you can jump into the Herald. And we've seen a lot of application where it is not just now place the Herald in a lane, take the turret, and trade for the next objective. You actually can use it in the middle of a team fight and completely change everything with massive knockups and big slows coming in from this beast that you can ride now. So if you give this over as AL, Weibo are going to have 3 grubs and the Herald, which turns into a hell of a lot of money.
And right now, Weibo have the gold lead, but you'd imagine by the time the clock hits 15, Hope just finished the Trinity Force. You'd imagine that Shanks would have the Naturous Tooth as well. All the one-item power spikes would kind of exist on all 10 members, and at that point, gold lead doesn't really matter that much, and that is a good situation for anyone's Legend to be in. So Weibo gonna have to try to make something happen around the Herald. We haven't seen a single issuance of some of these big ticket ultimates like the Paranoia, like the Pop Blossom. Gonna want to see that sooner rather than later at this point off.
I made this joke with Slayer that for us, we always talk about like the first TF ultimate or the first Paranoia. But if you wait to use it till later, then maybe that's when the game really gets good for you, right? Like if the first one is just going to always be bad, you just wait until you get a good opportunity, and then it's like, wow, this Nocturne pick is amazing, and then you get player of the game like that if you win.
Or you wait till you get level 11, and then it's twice as strong. Yeah, so...
Dude!
Big brain.
That's great logic, actually.
Don't think he's going to have it for the Herald, though. He's still just stings level 10. Shout out to Jiejie, though. He just caught up admirably after the initial invade gone wrong in Tarzan's red side jungle. Part of it is because he's Nocturne, and he's playing up against a tank Skarner, who doesn't necessarily care about that at this point. But this Nocturne still in the game, and he's going to be a fine vessel for what is 3 lanes that are currently ahead of their AL counterparts.
I don't think AL are playing for this. I mean, Kael's putting vision on the bottom side a minute and a half before the next dragon. Azir just TP'd bottom lane, so currently the objective for AL is get ourselves set up for this play on the bottom lane, put ourselves on Soul Point in a minute and a half's time, and if they can collect all of these plates on this bottom tier 1 for Azir, you're massively ahead.
So the teleport from Xiaohu, I was wondering if that was worth it necessarily, but with all the control that Weibo have on the top side, it'll be an easy pickup of first tower. So despite anyone's Legend controlling the kill score and also controlling the dragons at this point, we got that third one spawning in 60 seconds. Weibo have done a nice job getting themselves in good positions gold-wise. Once these resets end up coming through, we'll start to see these next major components start to arrive, and that's going to be how Weibo are going to have to fight these next few minutes with the wallets, making sure that they are stronger than their opponents in the item department.
I think I know the answer to this question, but does Weibo actually walk into this next dragon fight? Because yes, they have a 1500 gold lead right now, but they are missing some summoner spells like we were mentioning. And I wonder if it is worth it for us to say, like, we're going to play every dragon after this anyway, but I would rather have a 2-item Kaisa than a 1.5 versus Trinity Force. Maybe you might want to make the estimation that an Asher's Tooth is good on Azir, but not enough to win you the fight. And you have this Herald, like I was mentioning.
Well, it looks like they're going to fight for it, because that's what LPL teams do. Hong goes in, lands the Pop Blossom, though, onto Shanks, and immediately follows with the Killer Instinct. Hong, though, very out of position after all going for broke on that play. And Tarzan and Elk have already forced flashes, and that Impale is coming. It does not connect, though, and Xiaohu goes between worlds and equalizes a lot of AoE damage, but Flandre is absolutely in the back line, taking Elk down to below 200. The rest of Weibo have to do some work. Zika is the most fed member on his team. He goes forward to try to find hope, but he will not be successful as he is the second casualty in this fight. Weibo try to save Soul Point, but it ended up costing them 2 kills and a little bit more.
So, I know we were waiting for the first Nocturnal. He turned off all of the vision for AL, but never pressed the second activation of the spell. We're going to look at this again. And look at Hong. I just think this is way too greedy from Hong. Where is the angle? Zika still has to TP for this. Aurora's on the bottom side of the river right now, and there's no one that's going to be able to join from you. So Weibo's new support essentially just costed them this entire fight. And there's a lot of flashes being burned. This is Tarzan being so tanky, even though he has all HP items, that nobody from Weibo can chunk through him. He has 3,000 HP, and we have a Proto Belt or a Rocket Belt Aurora. We're not killing this guy. And now we go back to Pit Live, and Xiaohu has died. So Cloud Soul Point here for AL, and we've cut that gold lead entirely.
Right back to even we are, and so Weibo, any semblance of an advantage that they had is now gone. They just had to be earlier to that dragon play, right? Knowing that AL's composition is really good at poking and you know, dishing out damage from far away. You can't sit around the dragon waiting, so they had to go for the snap engage, but as you mentioned, their soul laners weren't there on time, so Weibo had to be a little bit quicker to the play there, and they did not end up doing so, and because of that, they end up losing 3 extended members off of that play. And now we're really going to have to fight in the next 3.5 minutes or so, and I don't know if they're really ever going to be in a position where they will be advantaged.
Let's see 2 items, because Hope just finished Manamune, and he's going to hit 1 minion with a Q, and then he's going to have Muramana, and then what are we doing? If this Herald doesn't get a crash,
Nope.
Oh, okay. Yep. Bard Tech. Does it get rid... Oh, that's a scam. Does that really get rid of the crystalline overgrowth? Oh my god, that's disgusting.
Doesn't feel
that
like
can't
intentional
be
game design, but shout out to Kael. It worked out well for them. Looks like Weibo going to have to make a play here onto the top side. Shanks trying to teleport away, but he gets burned down, and a shutdown goes over to Xiaohu. Weibo finally on the board, but it'll cost him a couple plates mid.
It's not only these couple plates, but they're losing waves on this bottom side, so it's better for Xiaohu, but overall still a good game state to play from AL. Weibo are going to have to keep doing dirty tactics, keep trying to just force on different waves. Zika especially, with all of his priority, and they know that he's kind of leaning towards topside with all of his vision, they really want to try to find something here.
Tarzan going for the invade onto his own Raptor camp, might end up getting punished for it, but look how healthy he is with the Bandle Pipes. Hasn't even popped the second item yet either. Finally getting the regen from the Protoplasm Harness, and this Skarner not going to die very easily against this Weibo composition.
Dude, Hong is so lucky. Let me not jinx this, please. Okay. Alright, Zika wasn't anywhere near that, and remember, that's a big portion of their gold lead. I feel personally responsible for this game state. As I said, on Twitter, I put out AL are 2-0ing this series, and in the last moment, I was like, the Weibo Hopium will come through. We'll get paid off for this Hopium. And now we're here. I'm not excited about Weibo's chances in this game 1 right now.
We're talking so doomer for a game that is 200 gold as the delta right now, but just the way the compositions function, it's soul point.
Right?
No, exactly. It's very difficult for Weibo to play these fights out, as we have already seen just about 4.5 minutes ago, and Tarzan gets another victory over Jiejie, this time smiting away the Nocturne's red buff. And so Weibo gonna have to try to find some answers real quick. You'd imagine it's some miracle work out of a player like Elk, who has constantly delivered in these team fights throughout his career. He's 0-0-0 right now, but that's going to have to change rather soon.
The Super Donut. I hope to never see an AD carry 0-0-0. Something has gone horribly wrong if we end a game, and that's the case. But this is 2-item Kaisa, and like I said earlier, Kaisa is your get-out-of-jail-free card. She is your kind of X-Factor champion that, if allowed to generate any kind of value in a team fight, she will win you that fight. But half a level down, and still looking at how tanky, especially a champion like Tarzan, even with the health shred of a Kai'Sa's plasma procs, it's dubious at best right now. And I need to see Zika join this next fight and have massive impact as well, because he has gotten a lot of gold to do very little, not necessarily to his own fault. A lot of these fights have been some misplays, especially from Weibo.
It's not great setup for the equalizers either, other than the Pop Blossom that we've already mentioned. But you see Hong's very squishy, so as soon as he goes in, likely a one-way trip, and you see the pressure and the power that AL have being able to control this Dragon Pit with the poke that they already possess. Those Mystic shots, just the Sand Soldiers zoning away Weibo as Tarzan has already started up the potential Dragon that would claim them the soul. Weibo have to make a play happen, and Hong finds it. It's a 3-man Pop Blossom, but will it be enough? The Nico will immediately fall, but a Tempered Fate finds Elk as soon as he dashes in with the Killer Instinct. He ends up trying to find Hope. He flashes in, is able to take him down, and is still full HP. Elk trying to play the hero at this point, but Tarzan will take down his teammate, and Shanks dies on the other side. Weibo looking for the fight. It's a 2v2 now as Elk has gone down, and Shanks and Tarzan looking to finish off the job. Xiaohu's all out of juice, and will have to watch his top laner drop. It is 4 kills in favor of anyone's legend, and they will claim the Cloud Soul for themselves.
I want to look back at that fight, but I think Flandre had such a pivotal role in that. His public execution landed onto Xiaohu and took the Aurora right out from underneath Weibo. Who could have played in mid for their troubles, but I think you're always going to take that trade as AL now have the Cloud Soul, and we asked for this composition that's going to be strong on 2 and 3 items to deliver. Hong's not even able to find Shanks there. That was a 3-man Pop Blossom, and if it can't get better than that, if you're not able to win from that scenario, I think that's a go next angle coming in for Weibo Gaming.
it feels like if you like swap the 80 carries on this team, both sides might be a little bit happier, specifically for Weibo, but Hong going in here, again, you have to do that. You're the only engaged, but then again, you're a Nico.
And this Bard ultimate from Kael just very much smurfs it. Flandre and Kael did fantastic here in this fight, just completely canceling out any of the damage from Weibo's front. And I'm looking at Zika and I'm like, dude, I feel so bad for you, because if Xiaohu had spells, if Xiaohu had even 400 extra HP, I think it's a very real turn coming in from the solo lanes. But AL are able to really play that very well. I think, again, the outside lanes here, the two roles on the opposite side of the map are playing exceedingly well. And we've said that a lot for a player like Kael. Flandre so far, I think, has been very good on him.
Turn off, right now. There's the public execution onto Xiaohu, and he will go down again, as the Baron might now be the target of conversation. Anyone's Legend still looking to maintain their presence in the mid lane. Weibo have no answer at this point. This should certainly be the big purple worm going down.
Yep, and Mbessa's already starting it. Thank you, Flandre. You know, Flandre, for as much hate as sometimes he gets, you know, mechanically speaking, he has not been the most solid. I'll hold this as I think Weibo are going to lock for a re-engage as a 4-on-5, but I think they know the game's over.
Jiejie's going to have to try to find some miracle. The Equalizer does a good chunk, and there's a Tangle Barbs onto Shanks. Jiejie's trying to get in the pit. Oh, he has a chance for the steal, but it will not go over as Tarzan collects it, and that will be wraps. It's a delayed ace, actually just a full ace here for Anyone's Legend, as that is certainly going to be the game. There's the Durex ad at a perfect time, because this one is wrapped up.
You did. All right. I don't know how to segue from that. So, we can move on to game number 2 here. And look, even Xiaohu is not safe underneath. He might need the Durex ad again.
Yeah, no protection here underneath the turret. Another ace, this time for Shanks, 7-1-5 on his signature champion. And Anyone's Legend have played this one out to a T.
Well, if you're only scoreboard watching, this looks like how I dreamt up of an AL win. Mid-jungle looking really solid, playing their way to win, and then you just take advantage of that. But so far this game, it has been Tarzan, it has been Shanks, but a lot of it has been Flandre helping out. They're going to try to look for
it's a good opportunity here. Yeah, Fear onto Shanks. Lethal tempo proc for Jiejie, but he's not able to get the kill. Number 8 into the back pocket of the Birdman. Tarzan goes forward, able to take Elk down. And, you know, they had an opportunity to try and find something. But try as they might, AL still end up on top. The base will start to get knocked open as the rest of Anyone's Legends will march into the Weibo base.
At least Weibo are making it fast. They're like, oh, we lost the Baron, we lost the Soul. We kind of know this game's not getting much better for us, so AL are going to now move forward. They have their Azir also walking through soon.
Public execution. There is a lot of crowd control as well. Tarzan with a 2-man impale. We've seen the ace. I'm starting to learn Chinese for ace at this point because it's shown up so many times on our screen. Yeah. Nexus now exposed. The dominance in the regular season against Weibo for AL continues with a stunning Game 1 win.
MVP hung this game. Fantastic play on the Nico. Set up AL for the win twice.
I feel like we're saying that a little bit too much. This split.
Well, then he shouldn't be doing it. Then.
Okay,
you know,
you can blame Hong, but I feel like I would blame Big Way maybe a little bit more for making this Nico the primary engage when you have a Nocturne running at you like this. Typically, with like the Nocturne compositions, you have something like an Orianna that can follow up with the Shockwave, or even some long range things like a Leona ultimate or something like that. Hong having to just throw his body to allow for any attempt at something to go right for Weibo was clearly not a very winning formula.
Nope. And it was going so well, right? Like, they played towards top side. They got their gold from Flandre, which every other lane, every other team that has played against AL have done. It's like, thank you, Flandre. I will take my 300 gold. I'll take your plates. And then we'll try to use our top laner later. I think this is a very weird game where we didn't get to see Weibo really use Zika in a very great way. A lot of times, as soon as he TPs or as soon as he walked into a fight, boom, he's already, like, the fight's kind of already over by the time he gets there, and he has to go into salvage mode, go into repair whatever kind of broken fight that he has to walk into. And not necessarily his fault, because he did play for, laning runes. He took Flash Ignite. He tried to bully this Mbessa in the lane. He just doesn't also have access to the enhanced teleport that comes with the role quest if you take TP. So he doesn't even get to play like pseudo frontliner with things like Leandries and having more HP going in to kind of pseudo frontline for them.
Yeah, I mean, you think about the champions Kai'Sa and Rumble for Elk and Zika, both played very well. Not a ton of great tools around them to allow for them to succeed. As we have continuously mentioned, Xiaohu had a bit of a tough game starting from the early game against Shanks' Azir, who absolutely played a great game on that champion, which has not done too well in the meta as of late, but you know when Shanks locks it in, it's going to be impactful. But it felt like no matter how strong Zika or Elk were, they were playing those team fights very well. I think Elk around that Soul fight actually had a really good team fight, but the rest of the pieces weren't able to deliver for them.
Didn't matter at that point because guess what? Your entire team is kind of dead already, and it sucks because Kai'Sa now, at least this year, at least this split, is now 1-3 going after this match, and another scenario where even though we got to 2 items and we were kind of feeling comfortable, you're matching your items with enemy Ezreal, which feels okay. Tarzan was way too tanky this game. Like 2 items with Protoplasm and with Bandle Pipes, and this guy's unkillable versus Kai'Sa with Rageblade already. Like that, in my mind, shouldn't really happen, but with the state of his items and just where he was in the game, it was near impossible. I think we were going to see Elk really kind of have that look at this. He's only auto-attacking Tarzan, and it's not that many to be fair, but like he can never get damage down in these fights.
Yeah, and as we mentioned time and time again, Flandre can fall behind in the laning phase and still be super impactful in the late game. That's what we've known him for over the last few years, I would say, specifically with Anyone's Legend, and he proved it again against, was a good performance by Zika. Here's that fight one more time. We can take a look at what Elk was able to do. He tried his best, man. He flashes over the Azir ultimate, and then it's a really smart move by Shanks, even though he's getting collapsed upon, by Xiaohu here. He ends up turning his attention back on to the Kai'Sa because he knows that he's the biggest threat.
I don't know, Grapes. Looks like jungle diff to me.
Yeah.
Looks like jungle
Fair
diff
enough.
to me.
Tarzan, very impactful in this game. He never was really in a situation where it looked like he could die. I don't think he did in this game, and it makes a decent amount of sense.
My prediction, man. I shouldn't have.
Hey, you still have the chance for the 2-1, and you could take like the half point. That's still possible.
Technically, in my sheet, it only counts as if I get the technically the team right. So
hey, Weibo got the bad game out from under them then, and then now they'll turn it around. Surely.
Yeah, and this was such a weird game as well, by the way, because I feel like the player that I always expect to perform in games is Jiejie. Whether it is a bad game for his team or not, I feel like he is one of the more consistent players of being able to generate leads and do something of impact or relevance in a game. Just this time, unfortunately, Flandre came and helped his jungler, which is not something that Zika could have done in that instance. And then, again, we saw a lot of those fights. We talked about it. It just kind of all fell apart, and the Nocturne never had those times to go on side lanes we were mentioning from draft. There's our player of the game. There he is.
Able to win smites, able to win fights. Great job, Tarzan, for putting up a flawless performance. That is his 5th MVP of the 2026 split number 2. That's it for our coverage of game number 1. Anyone's Legend end up dominating Weibo 27 minutes in. We'll see if the Weibros have any chance to answer Help Alk's prediction a little bit, or if it will be AL going up to 4-3 in the standings to round out their first half of the split. We'll be right back after this.